The desert stretched far and wide under the blazing sun, an endless sea of golden sand that shimmered like fire. Wind howled across the dunes, carrying fine grains that stung the skin and blurred the horizon. It was a place few dared to explore, a place where even advanced machines often failed. But for Ryan and his exploration team, danger was part of the job. Ryan stood on the deck of their crawler, a massive vehicle built to survive the harshest conditions. He shielded his eyes from the sun and scanned the horizon through his visor. Something strange glimmered in the distance. It was not sand, not rock, but a smooth black shape half buried under the shifting dunes. "Mara," Ryan called, turning to the team's archaeologist, "there's something out there. It looks like a structure." Mara adjusted her scanner and peered in the same direction. Her eyes widened as data appeared on her device. "That's not natural," she said with certainty. "The material is unknown. The readings are unlike anything I've seen." Jairo, the team's engineer, climbed up beside them. His voice was full of curiosity. "Could be alien tech. Maybe an ancient outpost. Whatever it is, it's old. Look at how deep it's buried." The team pushed the crawler forward, fighting against the thick sand until they reached the strange formation. As they drew closer, the shape revealed itself fully. It was a massive pyramid, its surface made of dark stone that gleamed even in the dim light of the desert evening. The structure was perfect in form, its edges sharp and precise as if crafted by machines far more advanced than anything humans had ever built. Mara stepped out first, brushing sand from her gloves as she approached the base of the pyramid. Strange symbols were etched into the black stone, glowing faintly in the shadows. She ran her fingers lightly over the carvings, fascinated. "This language is ancient," she whispered. "It doesn't match any known alien script. Whoever built this, they were far older than we imagined." Ryan stayed cautious. "We need to be careful. If this place has been hidden for this long, there's probably a reason. Let's document everything and send the data back to the Human Alliance before we take another step." But Mara was already studying one particular set of symbols near the entrance. With the help of her translation program, she began to decode the message. As the meaning became clear, her face turned pale. "Ryan," she said slowly, "this isn't a tomb or a temple. This is a warning." "What kind of warning?" Jairo asked, stepping closer. Mara read the translation aloud, her voice shaking slightly. "Do not open. What sleeps within will never rest." The desert seemed to grow silent around them as her words hung in the air. Even the wind seemed to pause. The team exchanged uneasy glances. Jairo gave a nervous laugh. "Come on, it's just an old myth carved into stone. Probably some ancient superstition to scare away intruders." Ryan was not convinced. He crouched near the carvings, studying them carefully. "Or maybe it's real," he said. "Think about it. If an advanced civilization went to the trouble of building a massive pyramid and leaving a warning like this, why would they do it unless there was a real threat inside?" The others shifted uneasily. Mara hugged her scanner close, torn between fear and fascination. "Ryan, do you realize what this could mean? This pyramid might be one of the oldest structures ever discovered. If there's knowledge or technology inside, it could change everything we know about the galaxy." Ryan looked out across the endless desert. The sun was sinking lower, painting the sky with streaks of red and orange. A part of him wanted to leave immediately, to turn back before they woke something better left undisturbed. But another part of him, the part that had led countless expeditions into dangerous unknown worlds, burned with curiosity. We'll camp here tonight, he decided at last. Tomorrow, we'll explore further. But we do this carefully. No rushing, no reckless decisions. The team began setting up camp near the base of the pyramid. Portable shelters were unfolded, scanners were placed in a perimeter, and defensive drones were activated in case of wild creatures. As darkness fell, the desert temperature dropped sharply, and a cold wind swept through the camp. Ryan lay awake in his shelter, unable to sleep. He stared through the small window at the shadowy outline of the pyramid. There was something unsettling about it. It felt alive, as if it was watching them. Suddenly, a low humming sound drifted through the air. It was deep and rhythmic, like the beating of a giant heart. Ryan sat up quickly, straining to hear. The sound was coming from the pyramid. He rushed outside, and soon the rest of the team joined him, standing in the cold night air. The humming grew louder, vibrating through the sand beneath their feet. "What is that?" Jairo whispered, his voice trembling. Mara stared at the pyramid, her face pale in the moonlight. "It's coming from inside," she said softly. "Something in there is awake." The sound stopped as suddenly as it had begun, leaving the desert silent once more. Ryan's jaw tightened. "We need to be ready," he said firmly. "Whatever's inside this pyramid, it's not just an ancient ruin. Tomorrow, we find out what we've uncovered." The team returned to their shelters, but no one slept. Outside, the dark pyramid loomed over them, silent and still, yet somehow full of hidden menace. Deep inside its sealed halls, something waited, patient and ancient, listening to the humans who had come too close. The sun rose slowly over the desert, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The cold night air gave way to heat once again. Ryan stepped out of his shelter, his boots sinking into the cool morning sand. He stared at the dark pyramid ahead. It looked calm now, silent and unmoving, but he could not forget the deep humming they had heard during the night. The rest of the team gathered near the campfire, eating a quick breakfast. Mara sat apart, carefully studying her translation tablet. She kept glancing at the pyramid as if she expected it to speak again. Jairo was full of excitement. He could hardly sit still. "I've been thinking about it all night," he said eagerly. "Structures like this don't just appear. Whoever built it must have had advanced technology. Imagine what kind of machines or power sources might be inside." Ryan frowned, his face serious. "Or imagine what kind of danger it might be keeping locked away. We have to treat this place with respect." Mara finally looked up from her tablet. "The warning we found yesterday was not just random words. It was very clear. Whatever is sealed inside was meant to stay there." Jairo waved his hand dismissively. "Warnings like that are common in ancient ruins. They used fear to keep people away from treasures or secrets. This could just be the same thing. We won't know for sure until we investigate." Ryan knew they would not solve anything by arguing. "We'll proceed, but carefully," he said firmly. "No touching anything until we understand what it does. We stay together at all times." With that, the team approached the base of the pyramid. The entrance they had seen the previous day was partly buried in sand, a narrow archway leading into darkness. Mara scanned the surface, looking for any signs of traps or energy fields. Her scanner beeped softly. "There's something strange here," she said. "The stone isn't just stone. It's mixed with some kind of metal. It's like the whole pyramid is alive, reacting to our presence." As she spoke, Jairo noticed a small square panel slightly raised from the wall. "Curious," he brushed away the sand covering it. The panel glowed faintly red when his hand passed over it. "Look at this," Jiro said excitedly. "This might be a control system. It's still active after all these years." "Don't touch it," Ryan warned. But Jiro was too fascinated to stop. He lightly pressed his palm against the panel. Instantly, a deep rumble echoed through the pyramid. The ground beneath them shook, and a line of light traced itself along the base of the structure. Everyone jumped back in alarm as the massive stone blocks shifted. Slowly, the entrance widened, releasing a burst of icy air. The temperature dropped sharply, and the smell of metal and something ancient filled the air. Mara's eyes widened. "This isn't natural airflow. Something inside has been sealed for a very long time." The dark opening yawned before them like the mouth of a great beast. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. He raised his weapon instinctively, scanning the shadows. "We go in together," Ryan said in a firm voice. "Stay alert and keep your helmets on. Mara, stay close to me. Jiro, you bring up the rear." The team switched on their headlamps and stepped inside. The air was heavy and cold. Their lights revealed walls covered in carvings similar to the ones outside, but these were far more detailed. They showed figures that looked like alien warriors battling a massive creature with glowing eyes and long claws. Mara moved closer to study the images. "These carvings tell a story," she murmured. "It looks like there was a great war. These beings fought something powerful, and they trapped it inside this pyramid." Ryan studied the final image. It showed the creature being locked inside a crystal at the center of the structure. Around it, the warriors stood in a circle, their hands raised as if performing a ritual. "This place isn't a temple," Ryan said slowly. "It's a prison." Jiro's voice trembled slightly. "Or it was. Until we opened it." The deeper they went, the more uneasy Ryan felt. The hallway sloped downward, twisting and turning. Strange glowing symbols lit up as they passed, as if the pyramid itself was waking up. Finally, they reached a vast central chamber. In the center floated a massive crystal, suspended above a circular platform. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat, casting shifting shadows across the walls. Mara's breath caught in her throat. This must be the core. This is what they were guarding. Jiro rushed forward to take readings with his scanner. "The energy levels are incredible. If we could harness even a fraction of this, it would revolutionize human technology." "Stay back," Ryan ordered sharply. "We don't know what it is." But Jiro was too excited to listen. He reached out and touched the edge of the crystal. The moment his fingers made contact, a violent shockwave burst from the core, knocking everyone to the ground. Lights flickered wildly, and the walls shook as if the entire pyramid were alive. The glowing symbols on the walls brightened, and a low, echoing voice filled the chamber. It was deep and strange, unlike any sound they had ever heard. The words were not clear, but the tone carried anger and hunger. The pyramid began to rumble again, and the entrance behind them started to seal itself shut. "Run," Ryan shouted, pulling Mara to her feet. "We have to get out now." They scrambled toward the hallway, but the path was already closing. The cold air grew sharper, and the strange voice grew louder, echoing from every direction. As they reached the narrowing passage, Ryan glanced back. For a brief moment, he saw movement inside the crystal, a dark shape shifting within the pulsing light. Something was waking up. The team squeezed through just as the doorway slammed shut behind them, trapping whatever was inside back in the chamber. Breathing heavily, Ryan turned to the others. That thing was sealed away for a reason, he said, his voice hard. We need to figure out what we've just released before it's too late. The desert outside remained silent, but deep within the pyramid, the faint sound of the ancient voice continued to whisper, growing stronger with every passing second. The team stood just outside the sealed doorway, breathing hard and trying to calm their racing hearts. The sand beneath their boots trembled faintly, as if the pyramid itself was alive and reacting to what had just happened. Ryan's eyes scanned his crew, making sure everyone was still there. Mara clutched her tablet tightly, while Jero stared back at the sealed chamber with wide eyes, clearly shaken. What was that thing inside the crystal? Mara asked, her voice unsteady. Ryan shook his head. I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not something we should have disturbed. Jero swallowed nervously but tried to sound confident. Maybe it was just some kind of energy surge. A defense system, perhaps. The structure is ancient, so things like that can happen. Ryan's sharp glare cut through Jero's excuse. You touched the crystal even after I told you to stay back. That was reckless. If that thing fully awakens, we could all be in serious danger. Jero looked down, his face red. I wanted to understand what it was. I didn't think it would react like that. Before Ryan could respond, a low vibration ran through the walls around them. The strange symbols that had glowed faintly before were now shining brighter, pulsing in rhythm like a heartbeat. The team fell silent, listening to the deep, unsettling sound. This place is alive, Mara whispered. The whole pyramid is reacting to us. Ryan motioned for everyone to move forward. We need to keep going. If the main entrance has sealed itself, there may be another way out deeper inside. Stay close and stay quiet. The group formed a tight line and began moving carefully down a narrow hallway. Their lights cut through the darkness, revealing more carvings along the walls. These carvings were far more detailed than those they had seen before. The first section showed tall alien warriors with long, curved armor and glowing eyes. They were holding weapons shaped like staffs, standing proud and strong. The next series of carvings showed these warriors locked in battle with a massive creature. Its form was hard to describe. It had too many limbs, glowing eyes, and a mouth filled with sharp, jagged teeth. Mara studied the images closely as they walked. These carvings are telling a story, she said, her voice soft but filled with wonder. Look here. This creature must have been a great threat to their world. The warriors fought it, but it looks like many of them died. Ryan followed the carvings with his eyes. The final set of images made his stomach twist. It showed the warriors building a massive pyramid around the creature, locking it inside with the floating crystal they had just seen. Around the pyramid, smaller figures were kneeling, as if praying or giving thanks. They built this place to trap it, Ryan said quietly. This isn't a tomb. It's a prison. And we just opened the door. Jero muttered nervously, if it was locked up for so long, maybe it's weak by now. Maybe it can't hurt us. Mara shot him a sharp look. Or maybe it has been gathering strength all this time, waiting for someone foolish enough to release it. The hallway suddenly widened, leading them into another large chamber. This room was different. The floor was smooth and reflective, like black glass. Strange, hovering lights drifted through the air, glowing faintly blue. The team froze, staring at the eerie sight. There were no carvings here, only tall pillars rising into the darkness above. A faint, cold mist swirled around their feet. Ryan raised his weapon. Stay alert. We don't know what these lights are. As they moved forward, the hovering lights began to follow them, drifting silently through the air. One floated very close to Mara, who held her breath and stayed perfectly still. "They're scanning us," she whispered. "I think these are some kind of automated guards." The light suddenly shot upward and vanished into the darkness. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then the ground rumbled, and a deep, guttural sound echoed through the chamber. From behind one of the pillars, a massive stone figure stepped forward. It looked like one of the warriors from the carvings, but its eyes glowed bright blue. Its body was made entirely of the same black stone as the pyramid walls. "It's a guardian," Mara said in awe. "They left protectors here to keep the creature from being freed." The stone guardian raised its staff and slammed it into the ground. The entire room shook violently, and cracks spread across the floor. "Back!" Ryan shouted. "Move back!" The team scattered as the guardian swung its staff. A wave of energy shot out, knocking Jero off his feet. Ryan fired his weapon at the guardian, but the shots bounced harmlessly off its stone surface. Mara noticed strange symbols glowing on the pillars around them. "The carvings, they're like a control system," she said. "If I can translate them, I might be able to shut the guardian down." "Do it fast," Ryan said, firing again to distract the creature. Mara ran to the nearest pillar, frantically studying the symbols while Jero struggled to stand. The guardian advanced, its heavy footsteps shaking the chamber. Just as it raised its staff to strike again, Mara shouted, "I've got it," and pressed her hand against one of the glowing symbols. The guardian froze mid-step. Its glowing eyes dimmed, and its body crumbled into a pile of lifeless stone. The team stood in stunned silence, breathing heavily. "That was too close," Jero said shakily. Ryan walked to Mara's side. "Good work. But this proves we were right. Whatever is sealed here is dangerous, and the builders went to extreme lengths to keep it contained." Mara's eyes lingered on the symbols she had touched. If one guardian was still active after all this time, there could be more. "We need to be ready for anything." Ryan nodded and looked toward a dark passageway leading deeper into the pyramid. A cold wind drifted from it, carrying a faint, unsettling whisper. "We keep moving," he said firmly. "The only way out is forward. But no more mistakes. We need to understand exactly what we're dealing with before it's too late." The group gathered their courage and stepped into the next hallway, unaware that the creature they feared was slowly stirring in the depths below, awakening from its long slumber. The narrow passage stretched ahead like a dark throat leading deeper into the heart of the pyramid. The walls glowed faintly with strange symbols that pulsed slowly, as if breathing. Ryan led the way, his weapon ready and his steps careful. Behind him, Mara held her scanner close, while Jero and the others followed, their faces pale with fear. The air grew colder with each step. A faint mist curled around their boots, and the whispering sound they had heard before grew louder. It was not the sound of wind. It was a voice. Low, guttural, and full of hunger. The words were strange, but even without understanding them, the team felt the malice in every syllable. "This place feels wrong," Mara whispered, clutching her tablet tightly. "Like we're walking straight into its mouth." Ryan did not answer. He was focused on the path ahead. The passage finally opened into a massive underground chamber. The ceiling was so high it vanished into darkness. In the center of the room stood another crystal, larger than the one they had seen before. It floated above a circular platform covered in glowing lines and runes. The air around it shimmered like heat rising from desert sand. Mara's eyes widened in awe and terror. "This is the core of the prison." This must be where they locked the creature long ago. J-Ro took a step forward despite Ryan's warning hand. Look at it. The energy readings are off the scale. If we could study this, it could change everything for humanity. Medicine, travel, even weapons. This is history's greatest discovery. Ryan's voice was sharp. And it could also be our greatest mistake. Don't forget what happened when you touched the last crystal. This thing is alive. As if answering his words, the crystal pulsed with a deep red light. The ground trembled, and a sound like a heartbeat filled the chamber. The whispering grew louder until it became a roar that shook the very walls. Suddenly, cracks spread across the crystal's surface. Thin streams of black mist seeped out, curling and twisting like living snakes. The mist gathered above the platform, spinning faster and faster. Everyone back! Ryan shouted, pulling Mara behind him. The mist swirled into a towering shape. Slowly, it took form, first as a shadow, then as a solid being. A creature stood before them, its body dark and scaled, its limbs long and sharp. 4 glowing eyes burned like fire, and its mouth opened in a silent snarl. For a moment, no one moved. Even the air seemed frozen. Then the creature spoke. Its voice was deep and heavy, vibrating through the chamber and into their bones. At last, it said. At last I am free. The team stumbled back, fear flooding their faces. Mara's knees almost gave way, but she forced herself to stand. Who are you? She asked, her voice trembling. The creature's eyes focused on her. I am Unearthed, ruler of many worlds, destroyer of armies. My own kind feared me, so they betrayed me and built this prison to contain my power. Ryan gritted his teeth. They locked you away for a reason. What did you do to deserve this? Unearthed tilted its head, its 4 eyes gleaming. I sought to rule, to shape the galaxy as I saw fit. The weak cannot understand strength, so they called me a monster. But you, humans, are different. You are clever, ambitious. Free me completely, and I will give you knowledge beyond imagination. I will make you stronger than any other race. J-Ro's breathing quickened. He looked at Ryan. Think about it. If he's telling the truth, this could give humanity the edge we've always needed. The galaxy is full of enemies who look down on us. With Unearthed's help, we could rise above them. Mara's eyes flashed with anger. J-Ro, listen to yourself. This thing was sealed away because it brought destruction. Do you really believe it will help us out of kindness? Unearthed's voice slid between them like a blade. Do not listen to her, human. The galaxy will never respect your kind unless you take power. I can give you that power. Ryan raised his weapon and aimed it at Unearthed. We're not freeing you. You should have stayed buried. Unearthed laughed, a terrible sound that echoed through the chamber. You cannot stop me. Even weakened, I am beyond your reach. With a wave of its clawed hand, a shockwave blasted through the room. The team was thrown backward, slamming into the walls. Sparks flew as equipment shattered. Mara struggled to her feet, her head spinning. We need to reseal it before it regains full strength, she gasped. How? Ryan demanded, helping her stand. There must be controls somewhere, Mara said. The builders wouldn't have relied on just the crystal. We have to find the sealing mechanism. J-Ro clutched his broken scanner, torn between fear and greed. Or we could work with it. Just imagine what humanity could achieve. Ryan turned on him with fury in his eyes. You even think about siding with that thing again, and you'll doom us all. Vareth advanced, its towering form casting a shadow that swallowed them whole. "You cannot run," it said, its voice rumbling like thunder. "This world will be my first conquest. From here, I will rebuild my empire." The glowing runes on the floor shifted as Vareth's power surged. The pyramid shook violently, sending dust and fragments of stone raining from above. "We have to move," Ryan shouted. The team ran toward a side tunnel, but Vareth's laughter followed them. It was not just sound, but a promise of chaos. As they fled, Mara glanced back one last time. The creature's glowing eyes burned in the darkness like twin suns, filled with hatred and hunger. Mara's heart pounded. She knew this was no longer just about their survival. If Vareth escaped, the entire galaxy would suffer. When they reached the tunnel, Ryan turned to the others. His voice was grim but steady. "We have one chance. We either seal this thing back inside or it will destroy everything. There is no middle ground." Behind them, Vareth's roar shook the walls, a terrible sound that carried across the desert above. The ancient prison had been broken, and the battle for control had only just begun. The tunnel walls shook as Vareth's roar echoed behind the fleeing humans. Sand rained down from the ceiling, and the glowing symbols along the walls flickered wildly. Ryan led the group deeper into the passage, his heart pounding. He knew they could not run forever. The pyramid was massive, and Vareth would not stay trapped for long. At last, they stumbled into a wide chamber lit by soft blue lights. The room seemed untouched by time. In the center stood a large stone console covered in ancient markings. Mara rushed to it, scanning the symbols with her tablet. "This must be the control center," she said, breathing hard. "If I can figure out the pattern, I can reseal the prison." Ryan nodded and turned to the others. "We'll hold here while Mara works. Stay alert." But Jairo did not move to help. Instead, he stood near the edge of the chamber, his eyes dark with thought. "Why are we running from this opportunity?" he asked. "Vareth offered us power and knowledge. Do you realize what that means? Humanity is always treated as the weak newcomers by the other races. This is our chance to rise above them." Mara's hands froze on the console. "Jairo, you can't be serious. That thing nearly destroyed its own people. It doesn't care about us. It just wants freedom." Jairo shook his head. "You don't understand. We are different. We're not like the ones who imprisoned it. Maybe we can control it, guide it. With its help, we could save our colonies, protect our worlds." Ryan stepped forward, his voice sharp and commanding. "Vareth isn't offering help, Jairo. It's offering chains disguised as gifts. Once it's free, we'll be the first ones it crushes." Two other team members, Darren and Kira, exchanged uneasy glances. Darren shifted nervously. "Jairo has a point," he said slowly. "We've always been at a disadvantage out here. If Vareth really has knowledge we can use, maybe we shouldn't destroy it so quickly." Kira frowned but said nothing. The group was splitting before Ryan's eyes, and he felt a cold knot of fear form in his stomach. Mara slammed her hand on the console, drawing everyone's attention. "Listen to yourselves," she snapped. "You're letting fear and greed blind you. The carvings we saw told a clear story. Vareth was a conqueror. It will destroy us just as it destroyed its own people." Jairo's face twisted with frustration. Or maybe that story was a lie. Maybe those carvings were propaganda made by its enemies. We don't know the truth. Before anyone could answer, the walls shuddered again. A deep growl rolled through the chamber, closer this time. Sand poured through cracks in the ceiling. Ryan raised his weapon. We don't have time for this argument. We have to act now. Either we seal it, or we all die. Jairo's hand moved to his sidearm. No, I won't let you throw away humanity's only chance at real power. The room went silent. The team members stared at Jairo in shock. Ryan's voice was low but filled with warning. Put the weapon down, Jairo. Darren hesitated, looking between the two men. Jairo, don't do this. But Jairo's face was set with determination. I'm doing what needs to be done. Before the standoff could break, a loud, chilling laugh echoed through the tunnels. The voice of Vareth filled the room, smooth and taunting. Good, Vareth said. Fight each other. The weak always destroy themselves. The walls rippled with dark energy, and a section of the floor cracked open. Black mist seeped upward, curling like smoke. Mara screamed, "It's getting stronger. I need more time to finish the sequence." Ryan fired at the mist, though his shots passed harmlessly through it. He turned back to Jairo. If you side with that thing, you're no better than it. Jairo shouted back, and if you seal it away, you doom humanity to remain weak forever. Suddenly, Darren raised his weapon and pointed it at Jairo. His voice shook. Enough, Jairo. I don't want to hurt you, but I won't let you free that monster. Kira stepped between them, her arms raised. Stop this, both of you. We'll all be dead if we keep fighting. For a tense moment, no one moved. The only sound was Varetha's low, cruel laughter and the rumbling of the pyramid as it shifted. Then the ceiling above them cracked wide open, and a giant clawed hand slammed down, scattering the group. Varetha's form began to rise from the black mist, towering over them. Foolish humans, Vareth hissed. You argue while I grow stronger. Soon, nothing will stop me. Ryan grabbed Mara's arm and pulled her toward the console. Keep working. I'll hold it off. Jairo scrambled to his feet, torn between helping Ryan or siding with Vareth. The creature's glowing eyes turned toward him. Yes, Vareth said in a silky voice. Free me, Jairo. Stand with me, and I will make you powerful beyond your dreams. Jairo's breath came fast. His hand trembled over the control panel. Mara shouted over the noise, Jairo, don't do it. If you release it fully, there's no going back. Vareth let out another laugh, its body swelling with dark energy. The chamber shook so violently that the floor split in several places. Ryan fired at Vareth again, shouting at the top of his lungs, this is your last chance, Jairo. Decide now. For a heartbeat, Jairo stood frozen, caught between his team and the ancient being. Then he lowered his weapon, his face twisted with anger and regret. I can't do this, he said, stepping back. I thought I wanted its power, but I see now it only wants to use us. Vareth roared in rage, the sound like thunder. Ryan grabbed Jairo and shoved him toward safety. Good choice. Now help Mara finish the seal. As the team scrambled back into action, Varetha's laughter turned into a furious scream. Its dark mist filled the chamber, pushing against the walls, seeking to break free completely. The humans had only moments left to stop it. If they failed, Vareth would escape, and no world would be safe again. The chamber trembled as Varetha's enormous body pushed higher through the cracked floor. Its glowing eyes blazed like twin stars, and its claws dug deep into the stone. The dark mist rising from the opening grew thicker, choking the air and making it hard to breathe. Mara coughed and kept her hands moving over the ancient console. Sweat ran down her face as she translated the strange symbols. Her voice was shaky but determined. I'm close to finishing the sequence. Just a little more time. Ryan stood between her and the monster, firing his weapon again and again. The blast struck Veritha's form but passed through it like smoke, doing nothing. Hurry, Mara, he shouted. It's getting stronger every second. Kira dragged Jiro toward the console. Help her, she ordered. You know some of these symbols too. Jiro's hands shook, but he nodded. I can help. I won't let it win. He began reading the symbols aloud, guiding Mara to the final steps. Veritha's voice filled the room, deep and mocking. You think you can bind me again? The ones who sealed me before are long gone. You are only fragile creatures of flesh. You cannot stop me. Darren raised his weapon and fired at one of the glowing symbols on the wall. The shot struck true, and the light flickered. Verith roared in anger and swiped at him. The massive claw slammed into the ground, sending Darren flying across the chamber. Darren! Kira screamed, rushing to his side. He groaned but managed to sit up, clutching his shoulder. Ryan gritted his teeth. Keep him safe. I'll hold this thing back. He grabbed a long metal pole from the ground and thrust it into one of the cracks, trying to keep Veritha's body from rising further. The creature laughed again, a sound that shook the entire pyramid. You cannot resist me, little humans. I will consume your world, and your people will bow before me. Jiro glared at Verith while working beside Mara. You're wrong. We may be small, but we fight for each other. That's something you'll never understand. For a brief moment, Veritha's glowing eyes narrowed, almost as if the words angered it more than any weapon could. It slammed both claws down, cracking the floor wide open. The mist surged higher, filling half the chamber. Mara shouted, Ryan, the mist is interfering with the controls. I need a clear space to finish this. Ryan looked around quickly, then yelled, Darren, Kira, help me set up a barrier. Kira tore a large piece of metal from the wall and dragged it to the center of the room. Darren, wincing from his injury, helped her position it. Together, they created a small clear area around the console. Work fast, Mara, Ryan said. This is our last chance. As Mara and Jiro typed the final sequence, the symbols on the walls began to glow brighter. The entire chamber vibrated, and a deep humming sound filled the air. Verith snarled. No, I will not be imprisoned again. Its body surged upward, towering over the group. The mist coiled into shapes like screaming faces. Suddenly, the floor beneath Ryan cracked, and he stumbled. A massive claw shot toward him. Jiro dove forward, shoving Ryan out of the way. The claw struck Jiro instead, throwing him across the room. Jiro! Mara cried out. She wanted to run to him, but Ryan shouted, Stay focused. He gave us this chance. Don't waste it. Jiro lay against the wall, gasping for breath. He raised his hand weakly. Finish it, he croaked. Seal it away, for all of us. Mara's tears blurred her vision, but she kept working. Her fingers moved faster, pressing the last symbols. Almost there. Just one more command. Verith let out a deafening roar. The dark mist surged toward the console, trying to destroy it. Ryan leaped into the mist, swinging the metal pole wildly. He couldn't hurt the creature, but he could distract it. You want me, Verith? Ryan yelled. Then fight me. Varitha's glowing eyes turned toward him. You are nothing. I am eternal. Maybe, Ryan growled, but we are humans. We don't give up. Mara slammed her hand on the final symbol. A blinding white light burst from the console, shooting across the chamber. The mist shrieked as if alive, twisting and writhing. Varith screamed, its voice filled with rage and fear. No, it roared. Not again. The glowing light formed chains of energy that wrapped around Varitha's body. The creature thrashed, trying to break free, but the chains held firm. Slowly, it was pulled back down into the crack. The mist was sucked into the opening, disappearing into the darkness. The chamber shook so violently that everyone fell to the ground. Finally, with one last terrible scream, Varith vanished completely. The crack sealed shut, leaving only smooth stone behind. The glow faded, and silence filled the room. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Mara slumped forward, exhausted. Ryan caught her before she fell. It's over, he said softly, his voice hoarse. Kira helped Darren to his feet. They both looked toward Jairo, who was lying motionless. Mara crawled to his side, tears running down her face. Jairo, she whispered. Stay with us. His eyes opened weakly. Did we win? He asked. Mara nodded. Yes. It sealed again. A faint smile touched his lips. Good. That's all I wanted. Ryan gripped his shoulder. You saved us, Jairo. You saved everyone. Jairo's eyes closed, and he let out a slow breath. Mara held his hand tightly, refusing to let go. Above them, the pyramid's lights dimmed and then went dark. The ancient structure was silent once more, as if it had never awakened. Ryan stood, looking at the sealed floor. We stopped it, he said, but for how long? Mara wiped her tears and rose beside him. As long as it takes. We'll make sure no one ever opens this place again. Kira nodded. We should destroy the entrance. Make it impossible to find. Ryan agreed. And we'll take the knowledge we've gained back to the others. They need to understand what we faced here. As the team prepared to leave, Ryan looked back one last time. Deep in his heart, he knew Varith was not truly gone. It was waiting, silent and patient, for another chance. But as long as humans stood together, he believed they could face anything. Let's go home, Ryan said. The team walked out of the chamber, leaving the sealed pyramid behind. The desert was silent when Ryan and the team finally stepped out of the pyramid. The hot sun blinded them for a moment after the dim blue glow of the tunnel's wind swept across the endless dunes, carrying fine sand over their boots. Behind them, the ancient structure loomed, silent and still. It looked like an ordinary pyramid once more, its smooth walls hiding the horrors they had faced below. Ryan turned back to look at it one last time. His body was bruised and aching, but his mind was sharp. We need to cover the entrance, he said firmly. No one can ever go inside again. Mara wiped her face, streaked with tears and dust. She nodded. Jairo gave his life to seal Varith. We can't let anyone undo what he sacrificed for. Kira glanced toward the horizon where their camp and ship were waiting. We'll destroy the entrance and mark this place as forbidden on every map we have, she said. But what about other explorers? What if someone comes looking for it anyway? Ryan's jaw tightened. Then we'll warn them. We'll make sure the galaxy knows this place is dangerous. They worked together for hours under the blazing sun. Using explosives from their packs, they collapsed the tunnel leading down into the pyramid. Giant blocks of stone crashed into place, sealing the path completely. By the time they finished, only sand and rubble remained where the entrance had been. Darren winced as he moved his injured shoulder, but he still helped as much as he could. When the final block fell into place, he let out a shaky breath. "It's done," he said. "No one's getting through that easily." Ryan gave him a grim nod. "Good. Now we leave this place behind." As they walked back to the ship, silence hung between them. Everyone was lost in their own thoughts. The image of Veritha's glowing eyes and terrible laughter still echoed in their minds. When they reached the camp, Mara paused and looked back. The pyramid was just a dark shape on the horizon now. She felt a strange mix of relief and unease. "Do you think it's really over?" she asked quietly. Ryan followed her gaze. "We sealed it, but I don't think something like Verith ever truly disappears. It's waiting, somewhere below, and we have to make sure it never finds a way out." Kira shivered. "Then we need to tell our leaders everything. They'll know what to do." Ryan hesitated. "We'll tell them enough. But not everything." Mara frowned. "Why?" "They deserve to know the whole truth." "Some knowledge is too dangerous," Ryan said. "If people learn about Veritha's power, someone might be tempted to open the seal again." "I won't let that happen." Darren nodded in agreement. "He's right. We'll report what we found, but we keep the details about the control system and the symbols to ourselves." Reluctantly, Mara agreed. "All right. But we have to be careful. Secrets can be dangerous too." That night, they buried Jairo's body beneath the stars. They built a small marker from stones, placing it carefully on top. Mara knelt beside it, whispering a few words of thanks and farewell. Ryan stood nearby, silent. Jairo had been their friend, their teammate, and in the end, their savior. His choice had given them a chance to win. When the ceremony was over, they boarded the ship and prepared for departure. The engines roared to life, sending a wave of sand rolling across the desert. As the ship lifted into the sky, Ryan sat in the cockpit, staring down at the shrinking shape of the pyramid. A part of him wanted to stay and guard it forever, but he knew that wasn't possible. The journey back to the human colony was long and tense. No one spoke much, each lost in their memories of the battle. When they finally arrived, they were greeted with cheers. People rushed to meet them, eager to hear what they had discovered. Ryan stood before the crowd, his face calm and controlled. "The pyramid is ancient," he said carefully. "Inside, we found evidence of a great danger. We sealed it away so it can never harm anyone again." There were questions, of course. Many asked what the danger was or why the team had returned without Jairo. Ryan gave them simple, honest answers, but he kept the deeper truths hidden. Later that night, in a private meeting, the colony leaders listened closely as Ryan gave a more detailed report. Even then, he chose his words carefully, revealing only enough to warn them but not enough to tempt them. When the meeting ended, one of the leaders, an older man named Halloran, pulled Ryan aside. "You've done well," Halloran said. "But you look troubled." Ryan sighed. "Because I know what's still out there. Verith isn't gone. It's only sleeping." Halloran placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we'll remain vigilant. You and your team have bought us time, and sometimes, time is the greatest victory." The next day, Ryan and his team stood together, looking out at the sunrise over the colony. Life was returning to normal around them, but none of them felt the same. Mara broke the silence. Do you think anyone will ever believe what really happened? Ryan gave a faint smile. Maybe. But even if they don't, we know the truth. And we'll protect it? As they turned to leave, a soft wind blew across the colony, carrying with it a faint, almost inaudible whisper. Mara froze, her heart racing. She looked back toward the distant desert, but there was nothing there. Kira noticed her pale face. What's wrong? Mara shook her head quickly. Nothing. Just the wind. But deep inside, she knew what she had heard. Far below the desert, beneath layers of stone and sand, Veritha's voice stirred once more. It whispered in the darkness, patient and hungry. The seal held, for now. And somewhere, in the silent depths of the pyramid, Verith waited for the day it would rise again. The end.